Hi everyone. So today's lecture is on elements of climate that can define the state and behavior of your atmosphere. So these are the elements which we can measure and they are variables. They change over time. So elements of climate are measurable variables that we study so as to define the state and behavior of any atmosphere of any location. And as architects, it is important for us to know how to design a building according to climate and how to respond to environmental conditions. If we'll know about the specific elements of a particular area, like maybe wind, temperature, precipitation, rainfall, then we can design according to that element of the particular area. It will ensure human comfort. If I know my area has lot of summers, then I'll make the design proposals according to summer buildings, and I'll also have good performance of my building if I make it in accordance with the climatic elements. So let's start with the first element, which is temperature. Now, what is temperature? Everyone knows it is the measure of heat energy of the atmosphere. It is the measure of heat energy of the atmosphere. So if the temperature is plus degree Celsius, over degree Celsius, the temperature is hotter. If it is in minus, it is negative, then the temperature is less, which means more of cold. This is more of hotness of the temperature. It is recorded in degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. Now, what is the architectural relevance of temperature? The first thing is thermal comfort. The architectural relevance will be thermal comfort. Comfort to a human being in terms of heat, like it influences the temperature inside the building. In summers, if we have AC, then we can drop down the temperature of the room from the outside. For example, if outside you have 40 degrees Celsius and inside if you have AC installed, you can reduce the temperature up to 20 degrees Celsius as well. So, ensuring thermal comfort of a human being, will have to deal with the temperature of the area. So, that is the task of an architect, so as to design a building according to temperature. Putting up an AC is kind of a passive technique that we can do as architects while designing the building. If we are orienting our building in such direction that we have so that we have less of uh, sun exposure to our walls. Let me give you an example. Hmm. Okay, so let's suppose I have a building something like this, and my site is like this. My sun is coming from this angle. Now suppose if I keep my building like this there are two ways in which I can keep my building, either this way, or maybe at some angle. Let's discuss about these two conditions. Now, when I'm keeping my building like this, the sun rays will fall somewhere here. And if I keep my building like this, my sun rays will fall all over this zone. That means in this option, my wall will be this is the wall that will be exposed to sun, and in this orientation, this is the only surface area of the wall that will be exposed. These areas will have somewhat of indirect light here, here, and maybe here. So what do we see here is the building orientation in which we can keep the direction of a building block also helps in reducing the amount of heat that is getting inside your building. Now, this is the best case scenario if we don't if we want less of heat inside my building, and this is not a preferable orientation. That means, as an architect, at the time of planning itself, we can adopt certain measures which can help in controlling the temperature in a passive way. That means before putting up any external element like an AC inside the building, as design as a design proposal, we can help achieving proper thermal comfort inside our building, right? Now, what else as an architect is important for us? If we know about the temperature of a place, we can have good amount of insulation installed in our building, then maybe shading devices. Now, if I already know the direction of the sun on my plot, then I know which areas need insulation. By insulation, we mean cavity walls or maybe double walls that can reduce the transmission of more heat inside the building. And if I know the direction of the sun, I know where to put the shading devices so as again to cut the direct sunlight. So this is how studying the temperature as the climatic element is important for an architect while designing the building. The second element of climate is precipitation. So what is precipitation? By precipitation, precipitation is a process in which the water vapors condenses. Suppose in my air, if I have moisture and the temperature decreases, this will make my air more dense in terms of water droplets. So if the temperature is less, the water vapors will convert into rain droplets. And if the temperature is further decreased, this droplet can change into a hail. And then even if the temperature decreases more, my air will the water vapors can change into snowflakes. So depending on the temperature that we have in our area, the atmospheric water vapor condenses and it leads to different types of rainfall patterns, which can be rain, which can be hailstorm, or it can be snow. And then yeah, that's it. So precipitation is basically the process by which vapors condenses and falls on the earth in form of rain, hail, or snow. Now, how architecturally studying precipitation can help, we'll discuss about the architectural relevance. The very first point is the building envelope. What do we mean by building envelope? Envelope is basically the shape, the external shape of your building. Suppose a building can be like this, building can be like this, or a building can be like this. So building envelope is basically the outer periphery or the major form of your building is known as the building envelope. Now, I'll give you one example. It will help an architect to make the type of roof or maybe a type of building form while studying precipitation. Now, I know I have more of rainfall in my area, I will never make a building which has flat roof. I will always go for a building which has a certain slope over it. Why? Because if rain falls here, it will get collected on my roof and indirectly or directly it will lead to dampness. But if I have a sloping roof, this slope will not let the water to store on the roof. It will directly let it fall on the ground, and the water will never be stored on the roof. That way, I'm saving my building. This means my building envelope is somewhere helping in the impact of precipitation or rainfall on my building. So we can also use this uh, knowledge of precipitation or the knowledge of rainfall pattern in developing the drainage systems of the areas. If I know when the rain falls, how for how much time it falls in my area, it can lead to a good proper drainage system which will never block our roads or our areas, right? So how is precipitation helping an architect? First of all, in the designing of building envelope, then in designing of drainage system, then also in designing the slope, the roofs of the building, and maybe it also helps in the selection of material. Now, obviously, if my area has more of dampness or more of moisture in the air, I'll try putting up DPC in my area, which is a damp proof course, a membrane which can help in waterproofing the building. So, if I know about the rainfall pattern of the area, this is how I can give a proposal for saving up my site. And again, it can also help in your landscaping. The water can be stored, the rainwater harvesting can be done, and this water indirectly can be used in landscape, right? Now, next point, next element is wind. Now, what is wind? There are two terms, there's air and then there's wind. These two are different because air is your normal air, and when the air starts moving, it is known as wind. So basically, the air movement is known as wind. And how does it move? The air generally moves from high pressure to low pressure, right? And it has a certain property. When the air is hot, it is lighter, and when if the air is cold, the air is heavier. That is why you might have noticed in our houses, if we have always, all the time, we have ventilators over the window. Why don't we have a ventilator installed below the window? If this is my window, we always place a ventilator on the top of a window. It is always on a higher platform. Why? Because we tend to send the hot air out of the building in terms of circulation. So if the hot air is light, it will go up, and if it goes up through the ventilator, it can go out, right? So how is my wind helping in designing for an architect? The very first point is natural ventilation. Obviously, if I know what is the wind direction in my area, then obviously, if I know the wind is coming from this side, then I will try to put up my windows in such a way that cross ventilation happens, and most of the air that is coming inside my building is natural. I don't have to use passive ways so as to get natural air inside my area. So giving up windows and openings in our building helps in getting natural ventilation, which is good for human body. We can always have fans and ACs, but since human is so connected to nature, it is always important for a human being to stay connected to the natural elements, and air is one of it. Always having a always having natural air inside your room, inside any building, is helpful for a human, for being healthy and for giving more of productivity in your work. Natural ventilation will help to design a good building. Next point is your humidity. Now, what is humidity? Humidity is the amount of water vapor inside your air. Since it is the amount of water vapor, it is always measured in percentage. We never say humidity is 10, humidity is 20, humidity is 50. We always say humidity is 10%. Today the humidity is 20%. Why? Because it is always measured in percentage. Suppose I have 2 to 3 droplets. If it is 50% filled, If my air is 70% filled and if my air is 100% filled, I will say the humidity is 50%. If it's 70, the humidity here is 70%. And if I see here, the humidity is 100%, because it is always measured relatively. Now, how can we use it? We can use it while improving our indoor air quality. And how can we reduce humidity inside a building? It can be done by putting up ACs, external sources. You might have noticed when you have rainy season, the outlet of the AC from where the water comes out and you are collecting it somewhere or maybe letting it flow out, always at the time when we have rainfall, more of monsoon season, the amount of water that we collect from the outlet of our AC is more. Why? Because we have more of moisture in our air. There is more amount of water in our air. That's why at the time of monsoons, the AC sends out more water from its outlet. So what our AC is helping? AC is also helping us in getting out the water vapors inside the air that we have in our room. So for for the comfort of a human, the comfort of people in the room, the humidity is decreased. The water is taken out of the building by putting up ACs inside the building. So it basically helps in providing in putting up external elements like AC, and also it can help us in using the materials that we need in a particular area so as to reduce dampness if we have more of moisture content in our air. So these were your elements of climate. The next topic is global climatic factors. Two things: global climatic factors, and then we have elements of climate. Many times when questions are asked in the paper, students get confused about the global climatic